Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JB Hoops, and today I'm here with my first big board of the 2025 NBA Draft cycle, and in it, I'm going to be breaking down my top 40 prospects into 4 tiers. The rankings within each tier are very fluid, as it is just how I'm feeling right now based off of what I've watched, the numbers, and the trends. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and let's get right into it with some honorable mentions. So for now, I have 36 honorable mentions. These are all guys I think are worth tracking as NBA caliber talents, with the guys highlighted in green being players who just missed the cut, who I either want to see more from them or haven't fully dived into their games to have a real opinion yet. Alright, now let's get right into tier 4 with my prospects ranked 40 through 26. Starting us off at 40, I have Bogoljub Markovic, the 6'11 Serbian big man playing for Mega. Markovic is a super fluid and quick mover at 6'11 with some intriguing handling and off-ball upside. He can really shoot it and has good touch, but he does have a lot of work to do on his body, as he struggles a lot with physicality, and that will limit his impact on both ends. But his upside is immense, and it wouldn't shock me if someone took him as high as the late first. At 39, I have Will Riley, the 6'8 freshman out of Illinois. Riley got off to a good start, shot the ball really well, but has struggled since and saw a significant decrease in playing time as the season has progressed. So I expect there's a decent chance he'll return to college. The defense and passing has also been pretty solid, but his upside as a 6'8 shooter and scorer is just too great to leave off my board completely, so I have Will Riley at 39. Next up at 38, I have Riley's 7'1" teammate Tomislav Ivicic. Ivicic is a skilled big who can really shoot it and defends at a high level. He's much more comfortable in pick and pop actions or spotting up from deep, but is also able to score on the inside. He's confident hitting cutters and initiating actions and handoffs, and whilst he isn't super mobile or athletic, he really impacts the game on both ends of the floor, so I have Tomislav Ivicic at 38. Now at 37, I have Flory Bidunga, the 6'9 freshman out of Kansas. Flory's a phenomenal athlete and defender with awesome upside as a play finisher and versatile defensive big. I would love to see him return for his sophomore season, as he is playing limited minutes behind Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams, and it is a harder sell as an undersized non-shooting big, and he also has just 2 assists on the season. But Flory Bidunga is a sick defensive and athletic prospect with a ton of upside, so he'd be worth taking a swing on for sure. At 36, I have the 6'5 junior out of Duke, Tyrese Proctor. I'm probably pretty biased as I am Australian and a Duke fan, but I've watched a ton of his games over his career and he's always stood out as an NBA guy. He's an awesome shooter, really defends, and has good size to play both guard spots. And if he gets more opportunities to handle the rock and create and also gets to the rim more, he could be a first round pick in my opinion. But for now, I have Tyrese Proctor at 36. Just ahead of him at 35, I have Cam Jones, the 6'5 senior out of Marquette. Jones has sustained ridiculous production throughout his collegiate career, and that's culminated in a likely All-American senior season. He's a high-level passer and decision maker, boasting a 4.1 assist to turnover ratio. He can score the ball from anywhere and holds his own defensively. He is quite limited athletically, but with his combination of shooting and playmaking could build out a role for himself at the next level. So I have Cam Jones at 35. Now at 34, I have Noah Pender. The 6'8 French forward playing for Le Mans is a havoc wrecker on the defensive end, averaging close to 3 stocks a game. He will have to continue to develop offensively. The shooting has been solid, but the finishing in particular has been very underwhelming, where he's converting on just 44.4% of his layups in the half court. He is also a bit older, being already 20, and I wasn't huge on him throughout youth tournaments, but he's still an exciting prospect and enters at 34 on my Big Board 1.0. Next up at 33, I have Eric Daly Jr., the 6'8 sophomore out of UCLA. He's been incredibly efficient from all over the floor. He defends his ass off, makes solid reads, and has great size to guard multiple positions. He does do a lot of his damage through the off-ball play types like cutting, transition buckets, and catch and shoot threes, but he's also made some impressive buckets off the bounce. I'm also not sure how sustainable the 3-point percentage will be, and he has been a little inconsistent, but his energy and two-way impact is undeniable, so I have Eric Daly Jr. at 33. At 32, I have the 6'6 junior out of Texas Tech, Darion Williams. Williams is a good shooter with a really polished, well-rounded game. He's a strong passer and connector who can operate from anywhere on the floor. He's not a great athlete and can struggle finishing around the cup, but he gets it done in the post and with his deadly midi whilst effectively defending multiple positions, so he'll be a good bet in the late first or early second range for sure. At 31, I have the 6'8 junior out of UConn, Alex Karaban. Karaban's an efficient off-ball wing with good size who's been a key piece in the back-to-back college champions. He's a great shooter with soft touch and can shoot off movement, and with his size that's super valuable. He's another subpar athlete with some limitations, but should be effective in either forward position with his shooting, secondary shot blocking, and complementary skill set. So I have Alex Karaban at 31. Now at 30, I have the 6'5 guard playing for St. Quentin, Nolan Traore. Traore has had quite a rough season from an efficiency and impact standpoint. He's shot really poorly on pull-up jumpers and floaters and is an equally poor finisher at the rim. The playmaking has always been good, and defensively he has some utility as a versatile guard who can defend both the point of attack or chase shooters. And the performances in youth competitions in the past and flashes throughout the season have still impressed for sure, although with his very lackluster production he falls to 30 on my Big Board 1.0. At 29, I have JT Toppin, the 6'9 sophomore out of Texas Tech. Toppin is a relatively young sophomore with a lot of skill. He moves well in space and could build a role as a 4 or small ball 5 option. He does a ton of his work on the offensive glass, and with his size that may not be as prevalent of a scoring avenue in the league, but he has soft touch, is effective as a role man, and has the potential to stretch the floor in the future, so I really like JT Toppin at 29. Coming in at 28, I have the 6'8 junior out of Arkansas, Adu Thiero. He's an awesome athlete and high energy wing that does everything for his team. He dunks absolutely everything, has soft touch on his middies and floaters, and shot 80% from the stripe last season. So whilst at the moment he isn't a good shooter, there's promising signs there for sure. On the defensive end, Thiero's a stock machine, but can be a bit undisciplined. But as a strong, rangy wing, he's an interesting talent who lots of teams would love to have. So I have Adu Thiero at 28. Next up at 27, I have Danny Wolf. The 7-foot star out of Michigan is a super fun and unique prospect who can really handle and operate out of the pick and roll, finish inside, throw dimes, hit jumpers, and block shots and rebound on the other end. It might be a bit difficult for a team to give him the usage he needs to be effective, and the turnovers are currently a real issue. I'm also not sure how well the defense will translate, but Wolf is a very intriguing talent that will definitely be in first round conversations, and for now I have him at 27. At the top of tier 4 at 26, I have Jojo Tugler, the 6'8 sophomore out of Houston. Tugler is a freak defender with an alien-like 7'6" wingspan. The offense has a long way to go, but there's been promising flashes, and the defense is just that special, even more so than a guy like Ryan Dunn from this past draft. So I would absolutely take my chances with Jojo, but for now I have Tugler at the top of tier 4 at 26. Now moving on to tier 3 with my prospects ranked 25 through 15. Starting off tier 3 at 25, I have Con Knipple out of Duke. The 6'7 freshman is a really intriguing tertiary creator option who is an even better shooter than 35.9% currently suggests. The passing has been really impressive, particularly out of the pick and roll, and he can get his own as well. He's not a great athlete and that impacts his finishing and defensive viability, but he holds his own on that end and works hard. And I think he could be an impactful rotation player every team would love to have. So I have Con Knipple at 25. Just ahead of him at 24, I have Ian Jackson, the 6'4 freshman out of UNC. Jackson is a straight bucket who can score from anywhere, and he's exploded since earning a starting role for North Carolina, averaging over 23 points per game on 66.7% true shooting over his last 6 games. At this point, Jackson doesn't offer much else, and it wouldn't shock me if he ends up returning for a second year to work on rounding out his game. But his ability to put the ball in the hoop is awesome, and if he performs like this for the rest of the season, he could very well end up a lottery pick. Next at 23, I have Ben Saraf, the 6'5 guard playing for Ulm. Saraf is an intriguing creator bet as a guard who is carrying a high usage in a pro league and producing. He makes some really impressive passing reads, especially out of the pick and roll with his manipulation and pinpoint passes. He's been solid on spot up jumpers, but the volume is kinda low and the shooting indicators as a whole aren't great. He has a funny looking jumper and kinda releases it on the way down on pull-ups, but his pull-up midi has been a weapon for him. I do also have some hesitations in regards to his effectiveness against NBA caliber athletes on both ends, so I'm probably not as high on him as some, but for now I have Ben Saraf coming in at 23. Now at 22, I have the 7'3" 18-year-old playing for Brisbane, Rocco Zikarsky. Rocco hasn't really produced much this season and has had a few nagging injuries as well as limited minutes, but the flashes over the last 2 years have been awesome. He has the tools and talent to be super impactful as a 7-3 force on the inside, and defensive anchor with the touch and coordination to really stand out from other giants. So despite the low minutes this season, I'm still holding my stock in Zukowski, although I am probably pretty biased on this one. But for now, I have Rocco at 22. Ahead of him at 21, I have Janai Broome, the 6'10 senior out of Auburn. Broome has been ridiculously productive throughout his entire college career, and this season has been no exception as he's likely on his way to the Naismith Player of the Year award. He is a little undersized to be a full-time 5, and he's also not a great athlete, but he does absolutely everything on the floor. He's a beast in the paint and on the boards, has soft touch, is capable of hitting jumpers, block shots, and is a trustworthy playmaker as well. He's obviously an older prospect and not without his flaws, but he's having one of the most dominant collegiate seasons in recent memory and is definitely worth taking in the first round. Coming in at 20, I have Liam McNeely, the 6'7 UConn freshman. He's a really effective off-ball connector piece with fantastic size and versatility. McNeely can really shoot it, but can also put the ball on the floor and make plays. He's a phenomenal second side operator who can get to the cup, hit a teammate in rhythm, or pull up for a jumper. The finishing isn't great and he's had some rough games, but Liam has stepped up in big moments with great games against Gonzaga, Baylor, and Xavier, and he just makes his team better, so I have McNeely at 20. Ahead of him at 19, I have Noah Asonge, the 6'9 forward playing alongside Sarah for Ulm. He'll be an upside swing as one of the youngest players in the draft who's been very productive in a pro league. Asonge is a high-level athlete and quick decision maker who's making an impact as a play finisher and versatile defender. He has the upside of a Swiss Army knife type player who can do a bit of everything, and if the shot continues to develop, he could be a very valuable player. But for now, I have Noah Asonge at 19. Next up at 18, I have Boogie Fland, the 6'2 freshman out of Arkansas. Boogie is a quick, shifty guard with a tight handle and deadly pull-up jumper. He really competes defensively and has good anticipation and quick hands. He creates advantages off the bounce with his change of pace, quick first step and nasty handle, and also makes some impressive passes and is a really good processor. Boogie's an extremely poor finisher inside and has been very inefficient against high-level teams, and as a small PG, the shooting will have to be a real strength. Fland does have a ton of upside, but with his inconsistency, he lands at 18. Now at 17, I have Yegor Demon, the 6'9 freshman out of BYU. He has a really intriguing skill set as a massive playmaker who does a bit of everything. His processing and passing ability is very impressive, and early on in the season he looked like a top 5 pick, but he's really underperformed versus high level competition and has been very ineffective since returning from a knee injury. I'm also not convinced by the jumper. It's mechanically good, but he hasn't ever been more than a decent shooter at any level, and he's all the way down to 29% from deep after his hot start. With the rough stretch he's been having surrounding his injury, I'm not going to overreact, but he'll definitely need to start to turn it around to maintain this spot or rise in the future. But for now, I have Demon at 17. At 16, I have the 6'7 sophomore playing for San Diego State, Miles Bird. Bird is a prototypical dribble pass shoot wing who also defends at an extremely high level and racks up stocks like it's nothing. He struggles finishing around the rim with his lackluster vertical pop and strength. He is listed at just 190 at 6'7", but Miles is super effective operating out of the pick and roll, and with his 3-and-D presence should certainly get looks in the mid-first round. At the top of tier 3 at 15, I have Colin Murray Boyles, the 6'7 sophomore out of South Carolina. CMB is a strong-bodied, versatile forward who is an absolute force on the defensive end. He can put the ball on the floor and make quick decisions. He has soft touch around the rim and effectively uses his strength and polish to drive to the paint or bully his way to the rim. And he's even hit a few threes this season, which will be huge for him going forward as an undersized 4. He has had some significant struggles against high-level comp, but he had an awesome performance in the loss to Auburn, and I expect his numbers to stabilize back to his usual uber impactful standards. But for now, I have CMB at the top of tier 3 at 15. Now moving on to tier 2 with my prospects ranked 14 through 3. Starting off tier 2 at 14, I have Rasheer Fleming, the 6'9 junior out of St. Joe's. Fleming has great size and a reported 7'5" wingspan to effectively defend multiple positions and impact the game in numerous areas. He's an explosive athlete who shoots 44% from 3 and has basically the perfect skill set for a modern forward. He's also a relatively young junior who will still be 20 on draft night. I'm not super confident the jumper will be this good, but if Rasheer Fleming can be a solid spot-up shooter, he'll be a very good NBA player for sure. Now at 13, I have Jace Richardson, the 6'3" freshman out of Michigan State. Jace has had some quiet games for sure, but in his role off the bench, he has been unbelievably productive and efficient, and still holds an absurd 71% true shooting, and he's a menacing defender as well. The limited minutes and usage, along with efficiency regression, might hurt his stock as a smaller combo guard, but he has been awesome for Michigan State, and if he starts handling the rock and creating more, he could be much higher than this. But for now, I have Jace Richardson at 13. Next up at 12, I have the 6'10" freshman out of Maryland, Derek Queen. Queen is a tough eval as a tweener type with an old school game, who has definitely improved his body a ton but still has a lot of work to do. I really buy him working as a ridiculously skilled big who can do everything. He has amazing touch and coordination to execute moves and finish over or around defenders. His production and flashes have obviously been awesome, but he is quite old for a freshman, and obviously he has some significant mobility and athleticism concerns, and his last month hasn't been particularly great, but he's just too skilled to not bet on. So Derek Queen finds himself at 12 on my big board 1.0. At 11, I have Trey Johnson, the 6'6" freshman out of Texas. Trey is an awesome shooter and shot maker with fantastic touch and NBA range. He's really comfortable in the mid-range and the post, and he loves that fadeaway. And he also competes defensively with his quick feet and anticipation, but his awareness off the ball can be a bit shaky. Johnson is another limited athlete and creator. He's definitely more suited to an off-ball role, but I've been impressed with his passing. He's a sniper from deep, defends, and has stepped up in big games, so I have Trey Johnson coming in at 11. Now onto a bit of a controversial one, I have Ace Bailey coming in at the 10 spot. The 6'10" Rutgers freshman is another tough eval as a guy who has all the tools and special shot making ability, but struggles to create with his mediocre handle, strength, decision making, and rigidity, and in turn doesn't consistently make an impact. He's had awesome flashes on both ends of the floor, he's been impactful as a low man rim protector, and made some incredibly tough shots from the mid-range and from 3, and the movement 3-point shooting is particularly intriguing. I think he'll need to end up in the right spot and buy into an off-ball role to succeed, and it's just the inconsistency on both ends that leave me a little lower on him than some, but he's still super young and talented, so on this board I have Ace Bailey at 10. Next up at 9, I have Thomas Sorber, the 6'10" freshman out of Georgetown. Sorber is a highly skilled big with soft touch. He's phenomenal at using his big frame to fight for positioning, boxing out, and especially when sealing defenders for low post position. He's a strong decision maker and playmaker out of the post and in the short roll. Sorber's also a really impactful defender with great shot blocking instincts and really good positioning and discipline. And you're guaranteed to hear a "gimme that shit" at least once every game. He's not a freak athlete, but he moves well in space and makes up for it with his strength, feel, and skill. So I really like Thomas Sorber's game and have him in my top 10 prospects. At 8, I have the 6'11" freshman out of Georgia, Asa Newell. Asa is a spectacular athlete, a dominant finisher and offensive rebounder, and is extremely damaging as a rim runner, roll man, and dunker spot guy, who also has the ability to protect the rim and hold his own on switches. I believe in the jumper. He has a smooth looking stroke, shot it well last year at Montverde, and is a solid enough free throw shooter. And overall, his skill set and tools as a versatile big who can play the 4 or the 5 and impact the game in multiple ways is very valuable. So I have Asa Newell at 8. Just ahead of him at 7, I have Jeremiah Fears. The 6'4" lead guard prospect has had some phenomenal performances for Oklahoma, including one of the best prospect games so far, with his 30-point performance with a game-winning 4-point play to beat Michigan. Fears is a high-level playmaker, capable of making a variety of passes with either hand. He's also a true 3-level scorer with a deep bag and creative handle, although he has been very streaky and is currently sitting at just 27.9% from 3. He's also had some turnover issues and has struggled throughout conference play, but I expect he'll turn it around, and the highs have just been so incredible. And for a guy who reclassed up to produce like this with that usage is just outstanding. So for now, I'm keeping Jeremiah Fears at 7. Now at 6, I have LeBaron Philon, the 6'4" freshman out of Bama. Phylon is a fantastic playmaker who creates advantages off the bounce, manipulates defenders, and especially recently he's done an amazing job at creating and facilitating whilst not turning it over, as he has 26 assists to just 1 turnover over his last 6 games, which is crazy. He's a crafty scorer who utilizes his decel, tight handle, change of pace, and twitchy movements to create separation and get to the cup, where he has ridiculously soft touch around the rim and in the in-between area, shooting an absurd 18 of 23 on floaters, which is a promising sign for his development as a shooter, which will be vital for his value at the NBA level. But at the moment, the jump shot is a bit slow and clunky, but he's definitely improved, and he shot it pretty well in high school. Phylon is also a hounding point of attack defender with awesome instincts and technique, and overall he's just a dog who competes play after play, talks shit and backs it up, so I have LeBaron Phylon at 6. Next up at 5, I have the 6'6" Illinois freshman, Kasparas Yakushonis. There's kind of a mini tier here. I think KJ's floor right now is about 5 and he could be as high as 3. He's an amazing shooter with awesome touch, footwork and balance to get his shot off quickly. He's a really fun playmaker who makes some extraordinary passes but does turn the ball over a bit more than you'd like. I think he might also have some struggles converting on 2s, as he isn't super bursty and is pretty much a below the rim finisher, but he has a knack for drawing contact and getting to the stripe. I hope to see him back out there for Illinois, as he is out right now with a forearm injury, but for now I have Kasparas Yakushonis as my 5th ranked prospect. At 4 I have Carmen Malawach, the 7'2" freshman out of Duke. Carmen is a massive, mobile, skilled big who's got a ton of room to grow. He doesn't get as many blocks as you'd like as a giant, but his rim protection is still awesome. He's definitely got to work on his hand-eye coordination and timing, and overall he still has a ton of things he needs to learn and tighten up. But Malawach has soft touch, a massive catch radius, and is solid on the boards, and has even shown he can hit jumpers and is a very good free throw shooter. Carmen boasts a true shooting percentage above 80%, which is ridiculous. He possesses unteachable size and physical tools whilst being one of the youngest prospects in the class, so I currently have Carmen Malawach at 4. At the top of tier 2 and 3rd overall, I have VJ Edgecombe, the 6'5" freshman out of Baylor. VJ is a freak athlete and an awesome defensive prospect with great tools, technique, and a phenomenal motor to match. His combined 8.9% stock rate is unbelievable for a wing, and he's so fun to watch. Edgecombe got off to a slow start shooting the ball, but has been solid since, shooting 35.7% from 3 over his last 10 games. The passing has been particularly impressive, and the upside as a slasher is enormous, although he definitely has to work on his decision making on drives. VJ's also struggled with efficiency in some of the bigger matchups he's had, but he's continued to improve as the season's progressed and still makes an impact even when he can't get it going for himself. He's definitely got some major things he needs to improve, but I absolutely love VJ's upside, so I have him at the top of tier 2 and 3rd overall. Now we have tier 1.5 with Dylan Harper, the 6'6" Rutgers star. Harper deserves his own tier as a guy who is a clear star talent in my opinion, but just isn't quite at the same level as my number 1 guy. Harper has been awesome for Rutgers and is currently one of the best players in college basketball as an 18-year-old freshman. I made an in-depth breakdown vid a few weeks ago. If you want to check that out, I'll link that. But Dylan Harper is a star who gets to and finishes at the rim historically well. He's constantly improving as a shooter, is a high-level playmaker and can defend as well. He's been sick recently, so put up a few stinkers, but I'll give him a pass on those games. And all in all, Harper is a super talented prospect with the tools and ability to be a star at the NBA level, and he would be the consensus number 1 pick in a lot of drafts. And finally, tier 1 is obviously my number 1 prospect in the 2025 draft class, that being Cooper Flagg. In my opinion, the 6'9" freshman sensation is an all-time prospect. His efficiency in scoring was a little underwhelming early on, but he was 17 for the first 11 games of the season, and was still extremely impactful on both ends of the floor. He's consistently improved, dominating with his polished game, awesome playmaking, game-changing defensive impact, as well as his explosive athleticism and developing jump shot. That 42-piece versus Notre Dame was a beautiful watch, and over the past month or so he's put up some incredible performances. He definitely still needs to improve as a self-creator, and tightening up that handle specifically will be huge, but I think as his body develops and he gets more comfortable, he's just going to get better and better, and he is a truly special talent and deserving of all the hype and more. So my number 1 prospect, Cooper Flagg, wraps up my Big Board 1.0. Alright, that will do it for this one. I had a lot of fun making this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll make sure to reply to all of them. I'll definitely have some more videos coming soon, so stay tuned. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more and all that. I appreciate all the support. And anyway, that's all I got. JB Hoops out.